So if you are inflamed for whatever reason, a moderate amount of sunlight can help speed up the healing process from that. And then finally, it helps us produce vitamin D, which in turn helps us metabolize calcium, which helps give us those really strong bones. So later in the meeting, when we have our bare knuckle boxing match, some people get hurt. Make sure you dose up on some sunshine later in the week, get the healing process started. So like many things, sunshine is good in moderation. We're going to talk about the flip side of that in a little bit. But before we get there, we need to get this meeting started. So for our guests, all Toastmasters meetings follow the same basic structure. There is a prelude, which is what we're in right now. And then we get to the main event, which is our prepared speeches. There's up to 3 prepared speeches that members can sign up to give on a weekly basis. Tonight, we've got 2 of them from 2 very experienced and charismatic Toastmasters. After that, we have an impromptu speaking section. This is a section that's open to all of our members, including our guests who have joined us tonight. We're going to have somebody up here asking some questions. You can volunteer to come up and answer in 1 to 2 minutes what you think a good response to that question would be on the fly. It's a very hard thing to do, but it's a very gratifying thing to do. So we'll signal when that time comes. And then we get to what I call the dessert of the meeting, which is what everyone looks forward to, the evaluation. Because you don't just come here for practice, you come here for feedback. Feedback that's very hard to get in the real world. Who's excited? Not feeling it. Not feeling it. Let's pump it up. Woo! So normally we kick things off with inspiration tonight. Unfortunately, we did not for the inspirational speaker role tonight. So we're just going to roll into what I call my partners in crime for tonight's meeting. They're going to help this thing move along in the fashion that we need it to. The first of which is our timer, who's counting the minutes and seconds. That's very important to do. So let's give it up for Mumita, our timer.
Sorry, I'm not done. So we have 2 prepared speeches today, and both the prepared speeches has time limit of minimum 5 minutes and maximum 7 minutes. So when it is 5 minutes, I'll put the green card, and when it is 6 minutes, I'll put the yellow card, and when it is 7 minutes, I'll put the red card. For table topic speeches, the time limit minimum is 1 minute and maximum is 2 minutes. So in 1 minute, I'll be putting the green card. 1 minute, 30 seconds, I'll be putting the yellow card. And 2 minutes, I'll be putting the red card. For evaluation, it's minimum is 1 minute and maximum is 2 minutes. So it's the same thing. For 1 minute, I'll be putting the green card. For 1.5 minutes, I'll be putting the yellow card. And for 2 minutes, I'll be putting the red card. So enjoy the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mumita. The timer, a very important role. It is so easy to lose track of time when you're speaking up here. This kind of brings us back when you hear later on in the meeting, oh gosh, that's how long it took. We're not on island time tonight, despite the fact that we're going to the figurative beach in our minds. So keeping track of time is very important. I see that we are up and running now, finally on the interwebs. Hello to our attendees on Zoom. Welcome to tonight's meeting. It looks like we have one guest with us tonight online, Alicia. Alicia, am I pronouncing that correctly? Alicia, if you're speaking, you're on mute. Alicia, are you able to come off of mute and speak to the room? No worries if you're not. All right, well, we'll come back to you in a little bit then. Understood. No problem at all. No problem at all. So the next role in the partner in crime bucket is what we call our grammarian. This is somebody who keeps track of beautiful speech. Improper speech is perhaps a way of putting the flip side of that. And then also just it serves as really our grammar sheriff, our word doctor for the meeting. We did have David Jones sign up for that role. We were uncertain about whether or not he would be able to attend virtually tonight because of the initial problems we had setting the meeting up. So we did ask Rockney to fill in at short notice. Rockney, we're going to kick it back to David because he originally signed up for the role. But after we go to him, how about we flip it to you for just an inspirational thought of some kind? Can we put you on the spot for that? Just whatever you want, man. Just a little Rockney wisdom, whatever's floating up in that gorgeous mind of yours. All right. So we're gonna kick it over to David right now to go over the grammarian's role. David, take it away.
Well, I'd be happy for Rockney to do it. I could just sit back and watch if he's more comfortable being grammarian, because I think the Sonia Pons would be a wonderful inspiration for us. If you're looking to change it up a little bit last minute.
Okay. All right. We can change that. Rockney, you want to go back to being? All right. Well, get on up here, brother.
Thank you. Fellow Toastmasters, good evening. My name is Rockney Bryant, and I will be your grammarian for this evening. My role is to monitor the proper use of the English language and also words, and also to monitor filler words that aren't really good to use, say, for example, and, but, in conclusion, and so forth and so on, and etc. So the word of the day is motivation. Motivation is a noun. The reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way. The general desire or willingness of someone to do something. For example, keep staff up to date and maintain interest and motivation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rockney. Unfortunately, from time to time, we do have a role that isn't signed up for in advance, or we encounter a technical difficulty and we have to call upon one of our members to step in at the last minute and pick up the slack there. So Rockney, I know ultimately it wasn't necessary, but we're pushing through with it. Thank you very much, sir, for stepping up for the club. That's what it's all about. Your inspiration is my motivation. All right, next, let's turn it over to a great Toastmaster from our sister club, South Park Toastmasters, for a little impromptu dose of inspiration. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put it together for Sonia Pons.
Hello, family. It's an opportunity to be with you. I'm blessed and highly favored to be a part of your family. This quote comes from Jess Ekstrom. She is all about the power of public speaking, especially for women. But she says this: do you fear public speaking, or do you fear being seen? Speak to influence, not to spotlight, and that will diminish your fears. Family, here in Toastmasters, you have an opportunity to speak to the influence that you have in your society. So make sure you're speaking to your influence. Don't matter what's happening in the room. Speak your truth, and trust me, we will follow. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you very much, Sister Sonia. All right. Well, without further ado, let's charge right ahead to our prepared speeches this evening. Tonight, we've got a banger coming out of the gate. First speech of the night from none other than Yasmin Rigo. Yasmin is given a speech as part of her level 1 in the presentation mastery pathway. It is called Pura Vida. Let's make some noise for Yasmin.
Thank you, Toastmaster Colin. If you guys could just bear with me this evening, my voice is even more raspy than usual due to the Beyonce concerts I've been having in my car all weekend. But yes, 2023 was a very special year for me. On top of my first niece being born, I also got my first 2 passport stamps. And I've actually had a passport my entire life, a valid passport, and it took me 28 years to stamp it. But hey, better late than never. My first trip took place in March. I went to Punta Cana for a bachelorette trip, and it was great. So much fun, and it was definitely an anomaly because it consisted of 12 women who did not all know each other, and there was no drama. So we were happy with that. Got back, and I think that first trip out of the country gave me that motivation I needed. Go ahead. Motivation. There we go. All right, cool. The motivation I needed to travel some more. So when my good friend Miranda told me that her and her fiance would be getting married in Costa Rica in July, I thought about it and I was like, I'm going. We're gonna do it. So I went to Costa Rica, really enjoyed it. But I will not lie, my trip getting there was absolutely terrible. So I got to the airport, and I am one of those pre-check people who shows up right before the doors close. I'm terrible. But of course, this was an international flight, so I got just what I deserve. I get to the airport way too late. I get in the pre-check line. I look at my boarding pass, and pre-check is not on there. So the pre-check line's already extremely long. I'm freaking out, and I'm on the phone with the airline, like, can you add it? I'm almost to the front. I'm like freaking out in this line. They're like, oh, yeah, we can add it. We're just going to have to uncheck you into the flight, and then you'll be able to check back in. I said, ma'am, are you sure I'm going to be able to check back in? Oh, yeah, no problem. You'll definitely be able to check back in. I'm in the line. Are you sure I'm going to be able to check back in? Yep. Okay. Checks me out, adds the pre-check. Try to check back in. Error. Click it again. Error. So I can't get pre-check. Have to go back to the regular line, which is about twice as long as the pre-check line. And all of this to say, I did not make it onto my flight. And the next flight was not until the next day. So I go back home, a little upset, but honestly, it was my fault. So I was just like, it is what it is. Return to the airport the next day, make my way to Costa Rica. The resort in Las Mareas is an hour and a half away from the airport. So I now have to take a shuttle alone because the group that I was going to take the shuttle with the day before is already there. So all of this, I finally get to the resort. I run to my room and I switch into a bathing suit and I go find everybody because the whole wedding party is here. There's about 85 people here for the wedding. So I'm there. It's great. We have the best time. And we're about the day after the wedding, everyone's gearing up to leave. And a few of the people said, hey, we all have an idea. We're going to stay for 3 more days and we're going to go to another town. Do you want to go? And I, with a lot of anxiety, because I'm a planner, I don't do anything that I haven't planned for. I've gotten better at it, but that's typically my MO. And I said, you know what? Sure. I called my boss. She said, go ahead, put in 3 more days of PTO. And we went to Playa Hermosa, which was about an hour way back towards Liberia, where the airport was. So this was great because it was a little bit of a different experience. We got that resort experience for 3 days, which was great, but I was kind of overeating burgers and fries. I've been like, why would I come to Costa Rica for that? So it was nice to go into a town and actually eat the food and experience the people. So that was great. Um, so I'd have to say that my favorite parts about Costa Rica, being in Costa Rica, was one, the nature. The nature in Costa Rica is something I've never experienced before. The first thing is that they have this glowing plankton in the water. If you've ever been to Central America, you've probably seen it, but you have to wait until it's super late at night and pitch black, and you can run your hands through the water, and you just see these blue flecks of light come up, and it's ethereal. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. The second most amazing part in that vein is the nature. Um, Monkeys are scary. Monkeys are like gangs in Costa Rica. There's like 8 of them just like swinging around together. And when I got to the resort, they were just like, yeah, make sure you lock your patio doors in the day. And I was like, what? They're like, yeah, the monkeys, if it's not locked, the monkeys will come in and steal your stuff. I was like, oh, okay. And then while we were in Playa Hermosa, we also did ATV tours through the jungle, which was, again, amazing. I've never seen trees so tall in my life. There's monkeys swinging around 100 feet in the air, and it's insane. The next part, again, is the people. They're just nice, welcoming, and warming, and warm. And if you've ever been to Costa Rica, you know that what you're going to hear at least 100 times while you're there is pura vida, which means pure life. But in Costa Rica, it means hello, it means goodbye, it means welcome, it means good luck. So you just hear it and it's so authentic. It's amazing. And finally, the food. Everything was just fresh, flavorful, but my heart was broken to know that the ceviche that I'd been eating here in Charlotte is not ceviche. I was there and I was like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, yeah, we're doing something else here in America, but ceviche, love it. So, yeah, the trip was amazing. I had the best time. Um, Staying in the resort, staying at Playa Hermosa. And it was honestly the best decision I made to stay over. It's something I typically wouldn't have done, but I'm glad I did. And I honestly didn't want to leave. The people were great. It was just the time of my life. But if you don't remember anything else about my speech today, I'll just say take life by the horns. And sometimes it's okay to just be spontaneous and go against the plan. Thank you.
All right, Yasmin, you brought the heat. You brought the heat. You went down there. I bet it was hot down there too, right? So you brought some of that heat back. You bring anything else back for me? All right, we'll talk about that afterwards. We'll talk about that afterwards. We'll let it slide if that was the first stamp or two on the passport, but you can't get to 3 stamps and not bring something back for your favorite people here. All right, so just keep that one up here. Lovely speech, though. All right. Next, we have a very, very special speech from somebody who never fails to deliver on the motivation and inspiration front. Whenever she speaks, I always feel like I could run right through a brick wall afterwards. Everyone put your hands together for Andrea Chocolate Butterfly Williams, who's going to be giving us a speech called Be Bold, Be Brilliant, Be Unapologetically You.
Thank you, Toastmaster Colin. I'm going to use his quote on something. I don't know what I'm going to quote his name and say that's what he told me when I speak. What you say? I make you want to run through a brick wall? Okay, well that's pretty cool. I'll take it. I have a webinar on Saturday. So that is what this speech is all about. So I just want to put a context to it. So there will be slides. There won't be today because we had a lot of things going on. We're not going to worry about that. So welcome to the Be Bold, Be Brilliant, Be Unapologetically You. How many people feel like they're doing that statement right now? I mean, tell the truth. If you don't feel like you're being bold, you don't feel like you're being brilliant or unapologetically you, don't raise your hand. Because believe it or not, 95% of the people on earth right now are not. Only 5% of the people in the world are truly living their dreams. Now, that's ironic because they say the top 10%, that 10% that everybody's trying to clamor and get to are the most successful people in the world because they make the most money, the top 10. But only 5% of the people are living their dream. Now, that's not necessarily saying that half of the top 10% are living their dream. It's just the top 10% are who we always reference when we say they're doing their thing. So if you're not being bold, if you're not being truly brilliant, and you're not unapologetically you, know that you're not alone. In life, we are told to be yourself. How many people have heard be yourself, be yourself, it's become a theme song of sorts in this world. But when you try to step out and be you, you often get a lot of pushback, right? I did. And there's some pivotal ages that teach you a lot of things. Now, that first age I'm going to go to is that age of 8 to 9, third grade. That is the year that they use to determine whether someone is going to be as a male in jail or a female just unsuccessful or either pregnant early or something crazy is just going to happen in their life. This is not going to be successful because they weren't successful at age 8 or 8 to 9. Their reading levels are the same levels that the pipeline to prison uses to determine how many people they're going to have in jail for the future progression of their industry. What a motivation to make sure that your children are doing what they need to do at age 8 to 9. And what we say, oh, they're just kids, they're resilient, they'll get over it, they'll do this, they'll do that. But in actuality, I remember being age 8. At age 8, I was a little chubby round kid. And at age 8, I was smart as a whip. I was brilliant. I was boldly brilliant and unapologetically me until a little boy told me I was fat. And I went home and I cried. And my uncle said, you come back home again crying, I'm going to beat you. But I'm a Christian. I can't fight. And he said, once again, you come home crying, I'm going to beat you. So what did Andrea do? I hid a brick on one street. I had to walk like 7 blocks home. Every other block, I had a tool to beat this little boy's behind because he would torture me all the way home. So he came after me, and it was like 3 blocks from home. The name of the street is Prairie Street in Detroit, Michigan. And I pulled out that brick. I threw it at him, and I ran all the way to Santa Rosa. I ran that whole 3.5 blocks to get home. Mind you, he never bothered me again. And I learned courage to speak, to fight back. But I also learned that I was fat. So I took that with me. I can speak up for myself, but I got to know that I'm fat. And that might not sound like anything to anyone at 8 that somebody taught you were fat. You didn't know you were fat before that? No, because everybody liked me. Everybody loved me. I was a lovable little kid. They would just say, oh, she's so cute and chubby. Nobody ever said the word fat. Or if they said it, they didn't say it like that. My daughter taught me something at age 8. At age 8, they told her she could not be in music class because she had autism. And I thought she was going to be like me and take it, internalize it, and, keep going through life as fat. Not my child. My child told me, give me a clarinet and a book. You taught me I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. She was so proud. So she learned how to speak up at age 8. Moving on to age 12 to 16, depending on what your what religion or culture you come from. At 12 in Jewish tradition, you become a woman and a man, and you go. And then in Hispanics, they do the quinceañera at 15, and then most of us do the age 16. We're officially teenage young adults that can make decisions. And that's the age where you start figuring out, okay, what do I want to do in life? Not that that's what you're going to do, but you start thinking about it a little bit more. And then age 21, that's when they told you really are grown. You can drink, you can do what you want, you can go where you want. They don't look at your credit as bad because you're 21. And then the next pivotal age is all the way to 65. So you're supposed to figure out your life at 16. You're supposed to have it together at 21, and you're supposed to do it till you're 65. Which leads most of us. Do I have anybody in here that is 65? No? No one. I like that I don't have anyone that's 65. You know why? Because you still have time. In your mind, you still have enough time to figure your life out. Because from 21 to 65, you're supposed to be living this life of working and getting it together. Which most of us, they said 1 out of 4 people actually retire at 65. Most people are now working past 65. Some people are even retiring earlier and starting a whole nother career at probably 45 to 55. So you have time to be bold, to be brilliant, and unapologetically you. Toastmaster Colin.
All right. Powerful stuff right there. Powerful stuff. 2 masterful speeches. Let's give it up for both of our speakers again tonight. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Now these two, they've been coming here for a while. They're vets, so I have high expectations for them. But I'm also guessing that you practice that a bit. Yasmin, how many times did you practice your speech?
Define practice.
All right. Well, maybe because you just came back from spring break, we'll cut you some slack there. All right, Andrea, how many times did you practice your speech?
This is a rewritten webinar, so I would say I've rewritten it about 20 times, but this was my first time giving this one.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, rewriting, practicing, what you'll find here is that a lot of folks who come up here that give a speech that looks that good, they didn't just roll out of bed and start speaking that good. Practice really helps with that. You start to build confidence. You start to smooth out the kinks in a speech when you practice it. And that's why, they're standing up here not reading verbatim either. They're referencing a note here and again, but the fact that they're able to just go to it occasionally, but, maintain eye contact, engagement with the crowd, that's a reflection of the amount of time that you put into practicing a speech. So just because you come here on Tuesday nights, it's obviously a great thing. That'll take you far. But there's a lot of work that needs to go in outside of Toastmasters to really reap the benefits of the seeds that you plant in here. All right, question time. Question time. Greg, what is your favorite outdoor activity to do in the sunshine?
Oh, that's a great question. It's pretty simple. It's just walking. That's my favorite thing to do outside. I try and get a walk in every day. I find it very calming and restorative and gives me time to just clear my head and gather my thoughts. And yeah, if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it.
I like it. Walking's a good thing. Walking's a good thing. Janelle, what do you like to do out in the sunshine?
Well, depending on the day and the location, I like to go out and get a suntan.
All right. All right. Harper, welcome, sir. What do you like to do outside in the sunshine?
When I was 21 or now?
Whatever period of your life, 21, that was just a year or two ago, right?
Exactly. I would say right now is walking. Yeah, I enjoy taking a walk. So that's what I would say.
All right, excellent, excellent. So we got some walkers in here. We got some suntanners in here. David Jones, what do you like to do outside in the sunshine?
Go hiking on the Appalachian Trail and camping overnight, especially when it's sunshine, just a nice, hot, miserable camping until the sun goes down, and then it's nice and cool up there.
All right. All right. So you're a manly man. We get it. We get it. All right. So a lot of sun seekers in here. A lot of sun seekers in here. Just by a quick show of hands, does anyone like cloudy days more than they like sunny days? Anyone? All right. Well, good. It means everyone is sane in here. We don't have any psychos in the room tonight, which is always a good thing. We would have had to shame someone if they did put their hands up. So it's a good thing that that whoever does fall in that camp didn't come this evening. So as we discussed earlier in the meeting, there's obviously a wealth of benefits to sun exposure, to moderate sun exposure. Just like anything, overconsumption can kind of tip the scales in the wrong direction. Blueberries are good for you, right? I think we can all agree on that one, right? Is it a good thing to eat nothing but blueberries 3 meals a day, 7 days a week? No. So just like anything that's good, you got to balance it out. Same thing with tequila. All right. Maybe it's not good for the body, but it's good for the mind and good for the soul, but you don't want to drink too much of that either. So our sun is especially fierce. Very, very fierce, especially as you move south toward the equator. And I know we've got the Floridians in the house who made the rare northern migratory pattern, whereas most people go south. So you escaped perhaps a fiercer sun than the one that we have here. But the Carolinian sun, beautiful maiden as she may be, is not kind when you overindulge in her. So just a little bit of context as to how powerful the sun is. The sun emits as much energy every second as blowing up 100 billion pounds of dynamite. So that sucker's powerful. And even though it's so far away that it takes, just about, 170,000 years for that ray of sunshine to come from the sun to planet Earth and to hit us here, but you can understand now, wow, okay. So there's still some bite left in that, by the time it gets here. Big old explosions happening on the surface of the sun every moment. Long-term frequent sun exposure can increase your risk of skin cancer. We do got to get serious here a little bit. That's a reality. And that's not surprising to any of you. I think we all understand that. But what doesn't get talked about enough is just how prevalent skin cancer or melanoma, as it can be referred to, is. So the American Association of Dermatology estimates that 1 in 5 Americans will get some form of skin cancer in their lifetime. 1 in 5. Quick poll with the hands here. Does anyone know anyone that's ever been diagnosed or battled skin cancer? Not to get personal, but has anyone in the room personally battled skin cancer? All right. Did you beat it, Marty? You did? All right, let's give it up for Marty. She beat it. It's a serious thing. It's a serious thing. I've got people in my family who have battled with skin cancer. Fortunately, haven't lost any of them. But it's very much a factor of exposure to the sun. There is some genetic involvement involved. There are some personal characteristics that make individuals more predisposed to skin cancer than others. It's commonly known that folks with lighter skin tones, are at higher risk. Women are known to be at higher risk. However, even if you don't have a light skin tone, doesn't mean that your risk is minimal. Table topics, Alan? Okay. Oh, am I cutting into table topics questions with this? Oh, I'm getting outside of my turf here. Okay. All right. Well, I'll table that and then I'll come back with any facts that you don't hit in table topics. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, on that note, why don't we transition into the impromptu speaking portion of our meeting, which we call table topics here at Toastmasters. As I had referenced earlier, volunteers can come up, answer a question that they didn't know of in advance, and they've got to come up with an answer right on the spot. It's a good way to practice your mental agility. And to lead us through that portion of the meeting, I think we had Sebastian Irani sign up for that. Get up here, Seb.
Thank you, Toastmaster Colin. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Sebastian. Despite becoming a member middle of last year, this is my first meeting of 2024. A little sad about that, but very glad to be here tonight and excited to be leading us through table topics. As Colin mentioned, this is the portion of the meeting where we open the floor to anyone to come up and do some impromptu speaking. So that includes both guests and members. You'll have the opportunity to come up and answer one of my pre-written questions that I have here. You have about, I think it's 1 to 2 minutes to speak. So pretty straightforward, nice bite-sized little chunks that I think are a great opportunity to come up and get some practice, get some reps in, build that confidence for what is hopefully your next prepared speech. Motivate yourself, right, to get to that point. Also, quick PSA for any future hosts of Table Topics. The first time I hosted Table Topics, I thought that all my questions had to be very directly related to the theme. And that meeting's theme was, I think, fast food chains or something to that effect. That was one of Colin's regional fast food chains. So I came up with 10 questions highly specific to fast food chains. So that was a pretty funny Table Topics, I thought. But anyways, tonight, I didn't know about our beach theme before the evening. So we've just got a wide gamut of questions for everyone. So without further ado, who would like to volunteer for Table Topics? Colby. Give it up for Colby. All right, first question for you, Colby. So, spring has officially sprung. Changing of the seasons is something some people love, while maybe others are resistant to it. How do you deal with change in your life? Is it something you embrace, or do you generally prefer consistency? Tell us a little bit about why you feel that way.
Thank you for the great question. So, I guess throughout my life, change has affected me, or my abrasiveness to it has changed throughout my life. When I was younger, I feel I was more open to it, more open to trying new things. And as I've aged, I kind of just like things the way that they are. I don't really like change that much. And all this change kind of brings a little bit of angst inside of me of having to do stuff I don't necessarily, or that I've previously gotten used to. But going back to your topic of spring and things changing, I have been enjoying the weather that's outside, as well as like the blooming of the flowers and stuff like that. But beyond that sort of change, oh, I don't got it.
That was great. Give it up for Colby. Thanks, Colby. All right. Any other volunteers? Greg. All right, Greg. All right, we're gonna stick with seasons. So as the seasons change, oftentimes people set new goals for themselves for the coming months. Do you have any goals you recently set for yourself that you're working towards? Tell us a little bit about them and what you think will be important for you to achieve them.
Thank you for that, Sebastian, and for reminding me that I should set some goals because right now I don't really have any. But I think if I could set a goal for these next couple of months for spring, it's just to lighten up a little bit and relax and enjoy just like day to day simple pleasures of just being alive, being here, being present. I tend to overthink things and I'm always like planning and I usually shade towards like worst case scenarios. So in my head, I'm always thinking about stuff that I need to get done. I'm always coming up with plans and I always feel like I'm running behind schedule. So the goal for myself, now that we're talking about it, would be to just relax a little bit and kind of take it easy. Get things done, but don't be so stressed out and worried about it. You know, everything will work out. So that's what I'm going to do.
Great answer, Greg. All right, I assume we have time for at least one more. Two more. Mumita. I do this every time. I hand the mic off too early. All right, Mumita. Finding ourselves in challenging situations is what often prompts us to grow as people. Tell us about a recent challenge you faced that may have prompted you to grow, even in some small way.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, there have been good challenges and they were good learning opportunities, something that I was not aware of myself. I got to know. Uh, so, for example, in certain phase of my life, I got diagnosed with cancer. And at that point of time, I was not aware of how to do, but the best part was the support system, doctors, my family, friend. And at that moment, till that point, I have never taken, like I took everyone for granted. But at that point of time, I learned that I have such a great support system. And few things I learned from my doctors, like they told me I was very scared of how to handle it, but they told me we have to deal with it. And somehow dealing with it, I have taken each day by day, and things are going good. I hope everything goes good for me, and I'm enjoying my life. So challenges have helped me to evolve as a person. There are a lot of things I had taken for granted previously, I'm, which I'm lucky that I realized that things have happened for good. Somehow I feel it was a blessing in disguise. Maybe I have not lived my life the way I would have if that thing had not happened. So I'm living my life every day that, yeah, tomorrow is another new day for me. So thankful for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mumita. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think that's a great lesson. All right, one more volunteer. Jose. All right, Jose, we're going to get a little bit generic with this one, but I have a feeling you'll have a good answer. Tell us a little bit about your journey to Toastmasters. How'd you hear about it? What motivated you to come? What do you plan to improve on or learn from as you attend meetings?
Oh, that's a very good question. I always knew that I have issues trying to do public speaking. I never like doing public speaking. And I know in my career, I could advance more if I could speak better. But my wife, she joined Toastmasters about a year and a half ago, and I witnessed how, and she's a very regular. She attends every week, and she goes to another club in Valentine, and I saw how she was practicing, and then how she was telling me all about it, and I saw her tremendous improvement. I mean, it's like 180 degrees. So I said, "Oh, I gotta. If she can do it, I can do it." So I decided to join, and I really am enjoying it. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Jose. All right, back to you, Toastmaster Colin.
All right. Thank you very much for those very, very thoughtful questions, Sebastian. What I like so much about those questions is that they're accessible, right? You don't have to know a lot about the person who's going to come up and speak. You know, there's something that, you know, everyone can take a bite out of and have something to say. So well done. All right. So, Alan, before I thought you were trying to say that I was getting into a subject matter that might be covered by table topics, but now I realize I think you were just trying to keep me moving along time-wise. Is that right? Yeah, timing is not my strong suit, which I think my fellow members know. So we'll try and kick this one into high gear here. But just to round out some of the factoids about what makes skin cancer so pernicious is that, you know, as mentioned, folks with lighter skin tones are at higher risk. Women are at higher risk, generally speaking, as evidenced by science. But also folks with darker skin tones, they might have lower risk, but what the facts say, and again, this comes from the American Association of Dermatology, is that it's harder to detect in the early stages if you have darker skin tones. And so obviously the later you catch any sort of cancer or illness, the harder it is to treat. So the key takeaway here is that everyone should take sun protection seriously. So with that being said, we're going to move into our general evaluation portion of tonight's meeting. This is where we break down everything that we've seen. We get feedback for our great speakers tonight. And to lead us through that, I'm going to pass the mic to our general evaluator, who is also our president, Dr. Eric Laxer.
Thank you, Colin. Wiser words have never been spoken. Everybody should take some form of protection. Welcome to the evaluation portion of the evening for our guests. We learn through practice and we learn through feedback. If you've heard of the 10,000 hour rule, part of that rule is something called deliberate practice. And deliberate practice means practicing with feedback. If you just practice, but no one gives you feedback, the value of your practice is not as high as it could be. So without further ado, we have two members who are going to be evaluating our two speeches this evening. Elvis will be evaluating Yasmin's speech. Please join me in giving Elvis a warm welcome.
Thank you, Eric, and good evening again, fellow Toastmasters and our guests. Jasmine, thank you again for another wonderful speech. I would like to start by saying, focusing on your delivery, it was phenomenal. It felt like you were just in a conversation with a friend all the time. You were just keeping that same pace, that same tone in a conversational mode that allowed me to get very engaged and enthusiastic and actually willing to learn a little bit more about what happened to you in that trip. I like the way you used the stage. You were also using part of this stage, moving around. At some point, you put your hands in the pockets, and that's something that usually that's a little distracting. So one thing that we could do is actually either just keep it straight or use it with purpose, but when we put it inside of the pocket, could be a little bit distracting. That's one of the things that I would like to look at for ways for improvement. In terms of the content, you started right away with two things that were also very engaging. It was like a small talk with a friend. I just had this situation. I just had this experience. my nieces, and I just got my passports. And it was very exciting to know what happened next. So that was very well done, very engaging. And that's something that you could actually keep doing all your speeches, trying to continue engaging the audience. Your content was very in line with the the whole purpose of your speech. You started off with the experience, the situation. There was a positive and a negative as part of having a bad experience at the airport, but then it turned out to be a wonderful trip. And then you gave us all the details, and finally you gave us a takeaway and a call to action. One thing also that I would like to remind you is to, when you're using the stage, even though you use the stage very well, phenomenally well, you were focused on this side of the audience, but never looked at this side. So one thing to also consider. All in all, a great speech, and I look forward to your next.
Thank you, Elvis. Please join me in welcoming our next evaluator, Alan, who will be evaluating Andrea's speech. Alan.
Good evening, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to evaluate Andrea once again. Thank you for sharing your story with us. And the speech had a really nice structure to it. Andrea told us in the very beginning what the purpose of the speech was and what she was going to share. And then she wrapped it up in the very end with reminding us to be our true authentic selves. And she did a great job engaging us several times, asking us primarily if we act as if we're our true authentic selves. So it's always really important to engage your audience whenever you're giving a speech. Now, I know Andrea had said in the very beginning that there were supposed to be slides, but due to some technical issues, we had to do without them. But to be honest with you, I'm sure I speak on behalf of many of the other people in this room when I say that the slides really weren't necessary. I was so enthralled with the story you told that the slides honestly became an afterthought. Now, I'm sure, knowing you, that the slides were absolutely fabulous, and I would have loved to have seen them, but at the end of the day, they would have just been a bonus. I don't think at the end it would have in any way, not them being there would have taken away from the quality of your speech. So the two suggestions I would like to offer are primarily to work the room more. You did that one time where you got out from behind, I guess, metaphorically speaking, your comfort zone. I forget your exact verbiage, but that was the part where you did leave the lectern for a moment. But I would strongly encourage you to do more of that when you give the speech live in a few days. And I know I had asked you a few minutes ago when you were going to be doing this for real. My next suggestion would be, I know you told us that there were going to be slides tonight, and obviously for technical reasons there weren't, but if, God forbid, you have that problem in a few days, just keep it moving. Your audience does not need to know whether or not you had slides. And honestly, besides maybe a few people who might be there to support you or who have heard the speech before, they probably don't know that you were going to have them anyway. And as I said before, based on what we heard tonight, the story alone you told more than captivated us. I had a very vivid picture in my head of what was going on. So thank you again for sharing your story with us.
Thank you, Alan. We are going to ask for a timer's report, and then I will do the evaluation of the meeting as a whole, and then Rockney will come up and do the grammarian's report. So please join me in welcoming Momita.
All the speeches were very motivational. Thank you, Yasmin and Andrea. So Yasmin took total 7, and I forgot to mention that we have 30 seconds of buffer. So even if it extends beyond the upper limit, we have 30 seconds of buffer. So Yasmin total time was 7 minutes. Andrea was 7 minutes, 7 seconds. For table topic speeches, Colby was 50 seconds. Greg was 50 seconds. I was 1 minute, 46 seconds. Josh was 50 seconds. And for evaluation, yeah, few seconds where it's for Elvis, it is 2 minutes, 45 seconds, little bit more than the buffer time. And Alan is 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Thank you, Momita. I will now offer my evaluation of the meeting as a whole. We got off to a little bit of a slow start. We had some technical issues, but those things happen at meetings, and the trick is to try not to falter, just be persistent. I want to thank Elvis for not giving up, troubleshooting the computer, and giving our guests an opportunity online to join us and for us to see them. So please give a warm round of applause to Elvis. We did not have agendas printed up, testament to how important David is. That was on me, so I apologize to the group for not having had our agendas on the table when everyone arrived. Momita, excellent job, very good explanation. One piece of feedback is just to speak up a little bit. I think it's hard to hear you in the back, but you did a great job. We had multiple people who didn't have roles and came to the meeting and took on roles, and that is a sign of being a Toastmaster. This may happen to you at work. You may walk into a meeting and your boss says, hey, I need you to stand up and explain something for a few minutes. Coming here prepares you for that. So shout out to Momita, to Rockney, to Sonia, to Elvis and Alan. And I want to give especially a shout out to Rockney because when Rockney came, he wasn't the grammarian. Then he was the grammarian, but then he wasn't the grammarian, but then he was the grammarian again. So he did a great job. Table topics, Sebastian, you did a great job. Didn't realize you hadn't been here for up till now this year. Certainly would not have noticed it because you really ran that section extremely well. Your time management was good. Your questions were good. And you called on members and guests. So you really did a great job. Evaluators, Elvis and Alan, I thought were both good examples of how to do a proper evaluation, constructive feedback, and positive feedback both together. The constructive part is very important. We don't grow by hearing people tell us just how great we are all the time. We need to hear ways that we can improve ourselves. I want to give a shout out to Colin, who was, as usual, entertaining, theatrical, educational. I'm definitely going to be putting on my sunscreen. I loved your audience engagement. You gave us great messages and engaged the audience very, very well. The one item that just to work on, I think, as Alan pointed out in a very subtle way, was just keep us on time. But we're doing very well for tonight, so I think you did do that for most of the night. I believe that covers everything that I wanted to say and everyone I wanted to point out. So with that, I would now like to call upon our grammarian to give us a report of how well we all spoke this evening. Rockney, please join me.
Thank you, Eric. Once again, good evening. My name is Rockney Bryant. I'm the grammarian. I'll be offering the grammarian report. First off, for our prepared speeches, Yasmin, I saw that you had 5 filler words, some buts, some so's, but overall good speech. And then also you had the usage of the word of the day motivation used at one time. So, Andrea, you also used the word of the day motivation one time. And I also heard one but in your speech, but everything else was good. Table topics. Person who spearheaded table topics, Sebastian, he did very good and used the word of the day one time. And Colby, I didn't hear anything, no ums, no buts, so good job on that. Greg, same, very good. Momita, I heard about 4 ums. Just try to work on that a little bit. And Jose, I heard about 4 or 5 ums as well, so just try to work on that. So that's pretty much about it. Oh, also, Colin, you used the word of the day twice. So, and I didn't hear any filler words as well. So, overall, good job.
Thank you, Ragni. Stellar fill in performance there as the grammarian. What a great meeting tonight. I'm really juiced up right now. This was a great meeting, had some great speeches. You come for the speeches, but you stay for the evaluation. The evaluation was a banger. That's why we come out. So thank you very much for leading such a phenomenal evaluation, Eric. Just to round things out, I know that last time I was standing up here with the microphone, we took a trip towards a little bit darker place about what the sun can do, talking about some of the illnesses and ailments that can stem from that. I'd like to leave you all with just a little bit of optimism and agency. Skin cancer and other sun-related ailments are largely preventable through your behavior, which you can't say for a lot of other forms of cancer and other forms of ailment and sickness. So an ounce of prevention is truly worth 100 pounds of cure when it comes to sun protection. So in addition to the obvious, sunscreen, and not all sunscreens are created equal. You've got broad spectrum sunscreens which cover UVA rays and UVB rays. That's typically recommended. Mineral sunscreen being considered the gold standard, but I know that can leave a little bit of white residue on your face, which not everyone likes. But also wide-brimmed hats, long sleeve pants and shirts. I know in the summertime those aren't always popular, but linen, polyester, there's a lot of great materials out there now that can keep you cool even when you've got the long sleeves on, for instance. So check that out. And then in addition to that, two special tricks I've got in the pocket here, one of which you're likely familiar with is the UV index. UV index is a way of assessing just how powerful the sun's rays are on a given day and at a given time. If you scroll into your mobile weather app of choice, usually there's a UV index that's pretty close to the top of that or easily accessible. I think what you'll find if you study that is that the strongest days UV-wise are not always the hottest days. It's also a function of how clear the sky is, the amount of humidity that's present in the atmosphere. Those can all change the strength of UV rays and thus the danger and the risk. So I do encourage you to study that. And then finally, there's a website called Sun Direction. And Sun Direction will show you in an interactive way where the sun is at different points in time of the day. And you can actually scroll through that. So if you know you're going to go to a Panthers game uptown or something, and you haven't bought your tickets yet, you can try to map out where you think the sun is going to be, and you can buy one that's largely going to be in the shade, or at least mostly in the shade for most of the game. So there's ways to be strategic about it. So I encourage you to do so. So thanks very much for riding along with me tonight. I hope you all are prepped for a great spring and summer, and always sun responsibly. Thank you. Now, with just a handful of minutes we have left, we're going to go back to our guests. So I'm going to go in opposite order. And I'd just like to hear from you. What did you think about tonight's meeting? Did anything surprise you? Is this what you expected if this was your first time here? We'll start with Becky.
Thanks. I thought everybody was very engaging and brought something different to the meeting, and I learned a lot as well. So I really took more from it than I anticipated. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, thanks.
I love how engaging the meeting was. I really think there's a lot of takeaways from each position that everyone holds within the meetings, and looking forward to coming back.
And Harper, you snuck in a little after the meeting. Would you mind just introducing yourself to the group, share where you're from, and any thoughts or takeaways that you had?
My name is Deveron Harper. I'm from Orangeburg, South Carolina originally, but I've been in Charlotte for about 14 years. So 14 years now. But this is my second time attending Toastmasters, and I've learned a lot. I wanted to volunteer. Some of you beat me to it. But next time, I'm going to volunteer.
Well, I really enjoyed the fact that the meeting flowed very well. Everyone was engaging and welcoming, so I really want to say thank you to everyone.
I really had no expectations coming tonight. Just wanted to check it out, and I had a great time. Thank you.
Yeah. Going to the last one, you know, mostly all the topics, the good ones are taken. But I would say, as usual, the feedback. Feedback is always pretty good. I learned the most from those. So the feedback part was really good.
Yeah, the planned speeches were really good, as well as the evaluations, the feedback. I really liked that portion. Other than that, it was well organized meeting. I thought it went well.
Thank you very much. Let's give it up for our guests. You can come back as much as you want. Please join us again. There's no obligation to join or anything, but if you feel like that's a natural step, after this meeting, after a few more meetings, obviously speak to us. We'd love to chat with you about it. And we'll turn things back over to the hammerman, Dr. Eric Laxer, to bang the gavel on tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Colin. One more apology to the folks online. We just realized we haven't been moving the camera around for you to see the audience. So I just have two announcements. One is in 2 weeks on April 16th. It is our 70th anniversary. That's big news. And we are having a wonderful evening. There's a lot of planning that's been going on. So if you want to join us, please come. Guests are welcome. We have a keynote speaker, Linda Marie Miller, who came in second place in 2020 in the World Championships of Public Speaking. So she's going to be fantastic. And if you're planning on joining us for dinner, Colin has sent out, and we'll send out another link. So please make sure you RSVP so we know if you're coming for the dinner. By Friday, yes. Perfect. And my second announcement is that May 3rd to the 5th in Asheville is our district D37 Spring Conference. Part of the conference is a speech competition. Colin will be competing. Andrea, who was here, will be competing. And another member of our group, Shannon, will be competing. So if you want to spend a weekend in Asheville, please come out and join us. Any other announcements from any of the members that we need to make? If not, I thank you all for gracing us with your presence tonight. And with that, we will call tonight's meeting to a close. Thank you.